here with another DIY, and what we're going to call this one is a jean flirty dress. All right, and the reason is because it's kind of, you know, flirty up at the top with thin straps, and on the bottom you can kind of decide whether you want to go a little shorter version or you want to keep the pattern the way it is and do it a little bit above the knee. I may want to do a little shorter, not too much though. Alright, so the pattern that we're going to use is Mccall 6833. Alright, and the view that we're going to use is view B. And what we're going to do is make sure you get you a jean material. Okay. On the back it tells you exactly how much fabric and lining that you're going to need for your size. Alright, so make sure that you get whatever corresponds with your size. Alright, and what I decided to do was I got a little stretchy jean fabric. But if you get a stretchy jean fabric, make sure that you also get a stretchy lining because it defeats the purpose. Alright, and for this particular dress, you do need lining. If you didn't need lining, then it wouldn't matter. So since we've already started talking about our fabrics, let's get into exactly what you're going to need. Like I said, you're going to need your lining and your fabric. Alright, for whatever size corresponds with you. You're going to need some chalk. Alright, and when I say fabric, denim fabric, because this is a jean flirty dress, and if you don't have jean, then it's not jean flirty dress. This is just a flirty dress. Okay, so make sure you also have your pattern weights. Alright, and I got my pattern weights like I've told you in some of my previous videos from Lowe's, and all they are just little washers, you know, that you can get out of the hardware section, mixed in with a couple of other little heavy round circular things. Not sure where I got these, but anyway, weights, because they have a little weight to them, and they're pattern weights, and they just kind of help you out and make it a little bit easier to keep your patterns in place. Alright, and you're going to need a nice pair of scissors, your fabric scissors. Alright, and you're going to need a 14-inch zipper, and make sure that your zipper matches your fabric. Alright, and I had to actually take, well, I got my fabric and my zipper from the same place, so I was able to match it up to make sure that I had the right zipper for the fabric. So, the pattern pieces that you're going to need are piece 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you're also going to need piece 13, piece 14, piece 15, and piece 16. Now make sure you look on your pattern pieces before you start cutting to make sure what you need to cut, because the pattern piece tells you whether you need to cut it on lining and fabric, or whether you just need to cut it on fabric, or whether you just need to cut it on lining. Alright, some of the pieces are just for lining, some of the pieces are for both, and some of the pieces are just for fabric. Follow the instructions on the pattern piece. What I'll do is let you go ahead and cut out your pattern pieces, lay them according to the fold if it tells you to do that on the pattern piece, and then we'll be back once you finish cutting all those pattern pieces out. Let's get started. Alright guys, so I have all my pattern pieces cut out, and the first piece that you're going to start working with is pattern piece 1. Now make sure when you did all of your pattern pieces and you cut them out that you cut all your notches out, and you transferred all your markings from your pattern to your fabric. If you don't, you're going to be frustrated because you're going to have to do it before you sew, or you're just going to have to make up or guess where to put your straps and all that stuff. So it's very important. Believe me, when I first started out, all I ever wanted to do was just hurry up and cut, because that was the worst part for me, and I didn't want to transfer markings, and I didn't want to cut notches, and I suffered when it was time to actually sew. So go ahead and cut all your notches out. Go ahead and transfer all your markings, and once you get everything cut out, let's get started on. Alright, so once you get all your pattern pieces cut out, like I said, the first one that we're going to start with is piece 1. And if you notice, it has some dart sections. So what I'm going to do is take my lining and I'm going to put it to the side. What you're going to do, the same thing that you're going to do for your fabric, you're going to do for your lining, as far as the bodice piece goes, because it's constructed in the same manner. So I normally try to do the two at the same time to kind of cut back on having to do one and then do the other. So with this piece, let's go ahead and sit your fabric piece, your pattern piece to the side, and what you're going to do is go ahead and pin your darts. And if you notice, this is the side that I'm going to use, but this is the side that I actually put my markings on the wrong side. And the reason is just take the guesswork out of trying to fold it and match up all of your lines, and you can't even see them because they're folded on the inside. So go ahead and make sure you do your markings on the outside and then fold your darts in. Alright, so I have all of my pieces pinned up, and what you're going to do is take them to the sewing machine, and right where your line is, you're just going to draw, you're just going to stitch going all the way down your to form your body, to form your darts. You're just going to stitch going all the way down on both of your fabric pieces as well as your lining pieces, and we'll be back. Alright, so I have finished putting the darts in my number 1 pieces on both my lining as well as my fabric, as you can see here. Now the next thing that you're going to do before you iron your pleat down or your dart down, is you're going to take it on the inside and you're just going to trim it down. I try to trim it down about 5/8 of an inch. So when you open it up, looks like this. And that's the part that you're going to iron down. You're going to press that going all the way down so that it's nice and smooth on the front. Alright, so you're going to do that on both pieces. Cut all of your side pieces, or cut all of your inside pieces, and trim all of your excess thread. And make sure that when you finish stitching, that you tie off the ends of your bodice, or tie off the ends of your dart. Make sure that you tie off the end of your dart when you finish sewing, because if you don't, then you'll have a little puckle in the front and you don't want that. So go ahead and tie off the ends of your dart before you cut and before you iron down, and then we'll be back. Alright, so we are finished with our number 1 pieces. We have cut and iron down our darts and our pieces, and you can see that on both our fabric pieces as well as our lining pieces. And so what we're going to do is put those to the side, and we'll tend to those in a little bit. Now what you want to do is grab your number 2 piece and your number 3 piece, and you should have 2 of your number 2 pieces, and they look similar to that. And then your front piece is right here. Now what I've gone ahead and done is attached one of my number 2 pieces, and you can do that. And basically what you want to do is just find your dots that you've made. That's why I said make sure it's very important that you've made your indications as well as your notches, and you want to just go ahead and do right sides together, and once you do those right sides together, just line them up and go ahead and pin them. Once you pin them, then you're going to go ahead and sew them together on 5/8 of an inch. And we'll be back to put the number 1, 2, and 3 pieces together. Alright guys, so we have finished our bottom, our 2 and 3 pieces. We've stitched them together, trimmed them, and pressed our seams so that we have a nice flat edge. I have not done it to my lining piece yet, but I will do it before it is connected. Now the next thing that you want to do is go ahead and get your fabric pieces, and your piece 1 and 2, the ones that you put the darts in. Alright, and this is again why it is so very important to make sure that you have all of your notches in place, because that helps take the guesswork out of putting things together when it's time to put things together. Alright, so I have my notches on the bottom piece of my number 1 piece. On the bottom section of my number 1 piece, I have a notch. So what I want to do is make sure that I find that on this piece. Alright, and once I find my notches, then I'm just going to lay them down together, and you're going to basically ease your number 1 piece onto your bottom 2 and 3 pieces. Alright, going all the way around. Make sure all your notches line up. I'm going to go ahead and pin mine and show you what it looks like when you finish pinning it. Eased in my number 1 pieces onto my 2 and 3 pieces, and this is actually what it looks like up close and personal. Alright, and then you're going to stitch going all the way around it until you get to your little dots that you made at the center. Alright, so you're going to stitch all the way to there and stop on both sides. And then once I finish and you finish, we'll come back and meet in the same location and see what it looks like. Alright, so we have stitched everything together on both our lining piece as well as our fabric piece and our fabric bodice piece. Ironed all of our hems, and make sure that you iron the hem around the number 1 piece, or when you join them together, make sure you iron it up towards the bodice. That's just so everything lays flat and nice, and make sure when you finish that you trim all of your seam allowances. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab our number 4 piece. Alright, and you should have a lining number 4 piece, and you should have a fabric number 4 piece. We're just going to put the lining piece to the side for a second, and what you're going to do is find the right side and find the side with your notches. That's why notches are so important. Alright, and then you're going to turn your fabric right side up, or your fabric piece that you've already constructed thus far right side up. Find your notches, which this is for our left side, so we're just going to make sure that we match them up together and pin them. Alright, once you have pinned your number 4 pieces together, you want to go ahead and make sure that you do a 5/8 inch seam going all the way down on both sides, and you're going to trim it, and we'll be back. Alright, honeys, we have connected 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have stitched everything together, cut off and trimmed all of our seams, and we have pressed everything so it's nice and laying flat. Make sure that you refresh your dots if you need to, so when it's time to connect different things you don't have any problem. Alright, so what we're going to do is put this piece to the side for right now, and again, don't forget to be sewing your lining piece in the exact same way that you're sewing your fabric piece as you go along. What we're going to pull out now is our piece 5. And that's this piece right here that looks like an arrow at the ends, and you should have dots on it to indicate your centers and things like that. Alright, and so you're going to need that piece, and you're also going to need, you can just put one to the side, and you're also going to need a piece of your lining for the same piece 5. So you should have a lining piece and a fabric piece. What you're going to do is pin the right side of your lining to the right side of your fabric piece. Alright, and what you're going to do is just baste along your seam line. You're just going to do a base, a 5/8 inch along your seam line. Once you do that, then you're just going to take your needle and you're just going to invisibly stitch going across your fold line, and all that is just to hold your fold line in place. And your fold line is this line that's going all the way around the center. So you can just take your needle. You can just take your needle, and I don't have any thread in this, but you just want to take your needle and just maybe do some wide stitches going all the way down. Alright, stitches that you can easily pull out if you need to a little bit later. And then we'll be back. Alright, so we have put on our lining for our strap piece, or the piece that's going to go, it's going to be our strap. So what you want to do now, since you have your fold line going down the middle of both pieces, is right sides together. You want to fold it in half, or on that fold line, so that fold line is going down the middle. And then what you want to do is sew a 5/8 inch seam going all the way down. Alright, and then once you finish that, we're going to turn it inside out. First I want to say, Mccall, you are wrong for these straps, because turning them in took a good 30 to 45 minutes. You may not have that problem, but I did. So that part is done. That was probably the most tedious part thus far for me, was turning my straps in because of the lining and all that. But it is done. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do, which again is in the important, or the reason why we want to make all our notches, is you want to go ahead and line up your straps. And you had a notch on the top part of your number 5 pattern piece, which is right here, and you should have transferred that marking onto the top of your strap. Big hole, I'm sorry, you had a big circle and you had a small circle, and you're basically going to match those 2 circles with the 2 circles, the small circle and the big circle that are at the top of your bodice, and then you're going to pin it, making sure your raw edges are together. Alright, once you get those raw edges turned or together, then you just want to go ahead and do a basting stitch straight across each one, just to hold it in place. Alright, and then the next step that we're going to do is grab our already sewn together lining piece. See, this is the part in the pattern where they tell you to go ahead and construct the lining piece exactly how you constructed the bodice, but we did that while we were doing the fabric piece. So that's already done. Once you get those straps based down, you're going to take your lining piece, fold it under 5/8 of an inch, and then iron that seam in. Alright, you're not going to stitch anything as of yet besides your basting stitch on the top of each one of your straps, and then you're going to prepare your lining piece by folding the bottom half over under to the wrong side, 5/8 of an inch, and we'll be back. Alright, so here we go. I have basted down my straps, both straps in between the circles, the two small and large circles, and you can see they are basted down. Alright, and then what you also had to do, which I hope you did, was go ahead and fold under your lining piece 5/8 of an inch and go ahead and iron that in. Now what you're going to do is take your fabric bodice piece and lay it down, and then you're going to take your lining piece and lay it down on top of it, right sides together. Alright, and then what you want to do is stitch starting at one end, going all the way around until you get to your 2 dots that you've created. See, I have it on both my lining, which is really light. I can see it though, and on my fabric. Alright, and just in case you guys wanted to know, the pins that I'm using to make my markings are these friction pins. I got them from Office Depot. I got them in a pack, and this is what the pack looks like. And it comes with red, blue, and black. And they are erasable pins, but what you do is mark on your fabric, and then when you run your iron on your fabric, over your fabric, it makes the pin marks disappear. Alright, so they're friction pins, and this little part right here, if you're using paper, would be used to erase it and make the mark go away, but in this case, for fabric, you just apply heat and they just go completely away. Alright, so just a little tip for you to help you out. You know, sometimes chalk doesn't always work for me. I pulled it out for this, but it didn't work. Alright, it kept disappearing. So, like I said, what you're going to do is find your 2 markings that you made before. You're going to start stitching your lining to your fabric bodice piece all the way till you get to there, and then you're going to stop and start back at the next one, at the next circle, and then go all the way around, all the way until you get to the second set of circles that are on your fabric and the other piece, and your lining piece also, and then come back around and do the same thing on this side. Alright, I will see you guys in a minute. Finished our on top piece as far as attaching our lining. We're not completely finished, but we are almost. Yay! As far as our top piece, still got to connect our bottom piece, but it's not that bad. Alright, so the top piece, we connected our straps, and like I told you, I hope that you went all the way around and connected your lining, and then when you got to where your straps were already pinned between your 2 circles, you went straight across there and got a nice even stitch. And then you, on the other side, you left that hole so that you can insert your strap. Alright, so what we want to do now, before we do anything else, is turn your lining out, open it up, and go ahead and do an understitch, or do understitch as far as you can. Now, I've already started my understitch here, so you can kind of see how it goes. Alright, and what you want to do is take your lining and fold it back, which it should naturally kind of fold already back, and make sure that it's laying flat on your sewing machine towards your lining, your seam. So you don't want to have it going this way, you want to make sure you have it this way. Alright, and then you're just going to go ahead and do your understitch going all the way around. Alright, leave your hole open and then start your understitch again going all the way around. Alright, and we'll be back once we've done that. So I have done what I asked you all to do, and that is understitch my lining going all the way around as far as you can. There may be some places that you can't get, maybe like the tips. I really don't worry about those, but I started it back as soon as I could on the inside. Alright, now the next thing that you're going to do is go ahead and try on your bodice piece and fix your straps to how long you think they should be, or how comfortable it feels on you. Alright, so I've already done that on one of my straps, or I actually did it on both of them, but I just want to show you how I've already pinned it on one of my straps. Alright, and then what you're going to do is basically, once you get it pinned the way you want it to do, to the correct length, you're going to go ahead and take that pin out and turn back your line, and make sure you hold your strap in place. You're just going to put that pin here, just to hold it in place on the inside. Then what you're going to do with your sewing machine is just go ahead and connect that stitching that you didn't do, and that's going to seal in your strap. Alright, and then it'll look nice and clean on the outside. Alright, and you just want to do that to both sides. Alright guys, I have attached both ends of my strap, and what you're going to do once you attach both ends of your strap is take your scissors and go in the middle and make sure you have measured it so that you know it's long enough and you got it where it needs to be before you make this process, or before you do this process. And then just go ahead and snip it off. Snip that extra strapping off. Alright, and then once you get that done, what you're going to do is take your bodice piece and put it to the side. Then what you're going to do is get your piece 13. And once you get your piece 13 is for your skirt back. And again, make sure you have made all of your notches, because what we're going to do is get ready to get into some pleating once we get everything sewn. So once you get your piece 13, then what you're going to do is put your right sides together. And what you've noticed is that you made an indentation right above your little 2 notches that you made, and your indentation should be not far above that, or your marking should be not far above that. That's where you want to go ahead and place your first pin at. Alright, so you find your notations that you made, and mine are on the right side, and those are the sides you're going to be putting together, so you probably should do it on the wrong side. Take it from my mistakes. There we go. Alright, once we find that indentation, you're going to go ahead and put a pin at it. And make sure you have your right sides together like I said. And that is actually where you're going to start your stitching at. And make sure everything is lined up together. Alright, and that's where I made my indentation, and then I'm just going to run my stitch going from where I made my indentation going all the way down. Make sure you pin the rest of your pieces so that while you're stitching it does not come apart. That's kind of probably the most tedious part. I used to think, oh no, I can just hold my pieces together while I stitch. But boy, let me tell you, it makes it so much easier just to go ahead and pin all your pieces together and go ahead and stitch. So once you get everything pinned together, start from where you made your notch at, or made your marking at, and you're going to run that stitch going all the way down, leaving the top open for your zipper. Alright, we'll be back. Alright honeys, I got my piece 13 all stitched up, and I left my opening like I asked you all to do, and I have my right sides together. I have not pressed anything yet because I wanted to show you guys before I do it, but what you want to do is go ahead and trim down your seam allowance and press it so that it lays nice and flat. Alright, so once you get that piece 13 all pressed out, and I'm going to do that in just a second, then you want to go ahead and open up your piece 14, and you want to find your notches, which I have my notches there and my notches there. Alright, and once you find where you want to, where you're going to place it, you just go ahead and put your right sides together. And this is my piece 14, and I'm going to find my notches. There they are. So it goes this way. And you just want to go ahead and put right sides together and match up your notches like so, and pin. Alright, and once you pin both of your pieces on both sides, you just want to run a 5/8 inch seam going all the way down both sides, and then so let's do a small recap. We have finished our bodice, we have put the lining inside of our bodice, and now we are working on our bottom piece, and we have attached all front and back pieces of our bottom piece, our skirt piece. And what we want to do now is, oh, and one other thing I forgot to tell you is make sure once you do your stitch in the back, the part where the zipper is going to go, that you snip a little notch all the way down to that circle. Alright, and that's just going to help it work with the zipper and lay flat and all that good dandy stuff. So do that so that that's done. And then what you want to do is go ahead and flip your garment on the outside. And we're going to put our pleats in. Alright, now at this point, if you want to go ahead and iron down everything just to get your seams laying nice and flat, you can. I'm going to save all that to after I put my pleats in, because I have been using a ink to put all of my lines on that reacts to heat and it'll disappear. So don't want that to happen. So after I put my pleats in, and but you can go ahead and iron down all of your hems if you want to. Alright, so to do a pleat is just pretty simple. Just follow your instructions. Make sure you made your notations and you know which way your line should go. You can notice right here on mine that the line is showing that way. So you start from your very first line and then you just fold that going all the way over to meet your very last line of that particular pleat. You can use your pins the way you like using them. I like putting my pins in this way because it makes it easier when you're stitching with the sewing machine to just pull them out. Some people like them going down. It's completely up to you. But you're just going to lay your pleat down nice and flat. Alright, and that is how your pleat should look once you get finished. That's just one pleat. You're going to have to go all the way around your skirt and finish all of your pleats, but make sure to follow the way that the arrows tell you to go so you don't have any problems or your pleats aren't going the wrong way and you look crazy. Alright, once we get those pleats in, I'll come back and show you what mine looks like so you can compare it with yours and we can go to the next step. Alright guys, so I have done my pleats and I wanted to show you what those pleats look like so that you can compare them to see what yours look like. In the middle you have two panels that actually fold into the inside, and then everything else kind of folds the same way. Alright, going in. So once you get all that done, you want to make sure that you go ahead and do a basting stitch going down each pleat. And then once you get each pleat done, then just go all the way around the perimeter of the skirt, of the top of the skirt, with the basting stitch. Alright, we'll be back and then it'll be just almost time to attach this bad boy to the bodice. Alright guys, so we have finished with our stitching. I have done the basting stitch going all the way down each seam, and I have also ran my basting stitch going all the way around the perimeter of the skirt. Now what you want to do is put your skirt to the side because we're about to work on the lining of the skirt. So you want to grab your piece 15 and your piece 16. Alright, so once you get your piece 15, go ahead and open that up, and your piece 15 is going to be the piece that you cut on the edge, and then your other two pieces, which are piece 15, so you have two piece 15s and one piece 16, and what you're going to do is just go ahead and lay those right sides together and match up all of your notches. Alright, once you have your piece 16 laid down, like I said, it's a piece that you cut on the fold, and then on top of that you're going to line up the two side seams for both of your piece 15s. Alright, and then you're just going to run your seam going all the way down both of your side seams, and when we come back we'll make sure we got everything together. Alright, this is just a friendly reminder to remind you to always pin before you get ready to sew. That is very important when you're doing your lining, because lining is very slick, and so when you get it up on the sewing machine you don't want your pieces all sliding all over the place and uneven. So make sure you just go ahead and take the extra time and pin all your pieces together. Once you get your both your pieces pinned together on the side seams, you should have it open in the back. Alright, and you're just going to run your seam 5/8 of an inch going all the way down both side seams. Alright, we have done our side seams for our lining. Alright, and it's just 5/8 of a seam is what we did on both sides. And what you want to do now is go ahead and do your back side, or the back part where your zipper is actually going to be inserted at once you attach it to your fabric. And you're just going to line up those two pieces like you did your side seams. And you have a notch on it that indicates where you need to actually start stitching. Alright, and that is why you make your notches. I know I'm drilling that point in the ground, but it's so true. Alright, but here's the notches. And then what you want to do is start from your notches and then, of course, pin and get everything lined up, because lining is slippery and it's a pain to work with without pins. So pin everything, start your stitch on a 5/8 inch from your notches going all the way down. Leave the top part free before we insert. Alright guys, so if you are up to speed, we have done all of our seams for our lining bottom piece. And make sure that, like I said, you leave the part open in the back that you're going to insert your zipper once you attach this. Alright, so what we want to do is turn it right side out. Alright, and sit that down, and then we want to go ahead and grab our fabric portion of our skirt. And we want to turn it wrong side out. Alright. Got that wrong side out. And then what you want to do is slide your lining over your fabric. Alright, so just stuff that down in there. Alright, you want to line up all of your seams and all of your edges. And pin. Like I said, you want to make sure that you do have your wrong sides together at this point. So you're going to have to turn your fabric on the right side. I'm sorry, turn your fabric on the wrong side and turn your lining on the right side. And then you want to slip your lining over your fabric and then pin. Alright, so we got everything pinned up going all the way around. And make sure you use as many pins as you need to secure that fabric before you start sewing. And what you're going to do now is run your basting stitch going all the way up the back side and then around, all the way around the perimeter of the skirt, and then do your other side also. Alright guys, now's about the time when I get excited, because now we're about to get ready to connect our bottom to our top, our skirt to our bodice. Alright, so by now you should have went ahead and sewn in your lining, and make sure that you cut away all unnecessary thread that you may have hanging, because you don't want anything in the way. Alright, don't cut your threads for that you have for your pleats, but make sure any extra long threads you have hanging around that you go ahead and you cut those away. Alright, now what we're going to do is grab our bodice piece, and you're going to take your bodice piece and open it up, and basically that means just take the lining and pull it up like that, and then you're going to take it and join it to your skirt. And you want to make sure your right sides are always together, and go ahead and pin it to your skirt, and then we'll be back. Alright ladies and gents, I have attached my bodice to my skirt piece. Alright, so make sure that you have everything attached. I usually start with my edges, go ahead and pin those, and just kind of work my way around, easing everything in. Everything fits perfectly. Now what you want to go ahead and do is run you a basting stitch going all the way around. Then try it on, make sure everything fits. If you need to take up any seams, then you need to go ahead and do that before you close up everything, and then we'll be back. Alright guys, so I have connected my bodice. I did do a basting stitch first, and then I tried it on to make sure everything fit properly, and if I need to take up anything where I need to take it up in the seams, and then I went ahead and ran my regular 5/8 stitch going all the way around. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and prepare our dress for our zipper. What you're going to go ahead and do is turn your dress on the outside. Once you get your dress turned wrong side out, Then you're going to open up the lining to the bodice, and it should still be open from connecting it anyway to your skirt. And you just want to line up the top portion of your dress or the top portion of your bodice. Make sure you line up all of your seams and make sure that you press your seams up. I've already done that, but when you finish connecting your bodice, press your seams going up towards your bodice. Alright, and then make sure that you line up all of your seams. Once you pin, you want to pin all the way down to where you made your notches at, and then run a basting stitch from the top going all the way down to where you made your notches at. Alright, I have stitched my 5/8 seam going all the way down. And what you want to do now is go ahead and lay it on the iron and press it going all the way down so that it lays flat to prepare for your zipper. And it should look like this. Alright, and once you get that sewn or pressed all the way down, then you want to go ahead and grab your zipper. Alright, and I'm just going to turn it this way so I can get it all in the shot. But of course yours, you pin yours however you like it. You're going to put your zipper face down on your line. Alright, but what you're going to do is make sure you go down about 3/8 inches from the top. Because one thing that I did not, that I forgot to mention in the beginning is that you will need a hook eye, just one hook eye closure to close this up. And I'll show you what that looks like once we get our zipper on. But you want to go ahead and lay your zipper face down about 3/8 inches from the top. And then you just want to go ahead and start pinning. Now one thing you want to make sure when you're laying your zipper down is that you always line up your zipper line or your actual zipper with the line going all the way down. So go ahead and pin that down, going all the way down, 3/8 down from the top, and you want to pin that. And as you pin, make sure you hold it. I usually hold mine like that. Make sure I line it up nice, and then I just pin, and I do that going all the way down. Alright, I got my zipper pinned all the way down, and I normally just pin one side because once you get that one side laid down and you get a stitch going all the way down, there's no need for pins because you have it in the place you want. Alright, so what you want to do is take your zipper foot. This is what your zipper foot should look like, and you're going to take your zipper foot and make sure that you, when you lay it down, you lay it as close as you can so that you can get close to your teeth as you can. You don't want to stitch, of course, too close because then you'll get in the zipper in the teeth, and then that'll mess up when you get ready to actually use your zipper. But you want to get as close as you can to those teeth. Alright guys, so I got my zipper in. I hope you got yours in. I just used my zipper foot, and like I showed you, place my zipper foot, you know, on top of the, I do mine on top of my zipper teeth, and that allows me to get a very, very, very close seam, so that when I zip it up, it looks fairly good. So I have my zipper done. I hope you got your zipper. Alright, and then at the end I always try to close it off so that you can, so that you won't have, I won't have to worry about the zipper going back on me or going down into the cloth. So I just run a line going straight across the zipper there, so that I don't have to worry about it going past where I've stopped the zipper at. Alright, so we got our zipper done. Now honestly, we can go ahead and do our happy dance if you want to. Alright, let's do our happy dance. Okay, so because the only thing that we really have left to do, guys, is put in our lining and close up our hem. Alright, and so the next thing that we're going to do, oh, and also install our hook eye closure at the top, because if you place your zipper 3/8 down, which is where I instructed you all to do, and the instructions do too, then you're going to need something to kind of close that zipper off. Alright, like that. So that's what the hook and eye is for, but we can't do that until we get our lining put down on the inside. Alright, so what you want to do is go ahead and open up your zipper. And if I were you, I would just turn the entire dress inside out. That way you ain't trying to work inside of a dress that's turned right side out. Come on now, let's use our brains. Alright, so once you get your zipper, once you get your zipper undone, your lining, right, earlier I told you that you needed to press it 3/8 of an inches down. And the reason is because now what you're going to do is fold it over your skirt, which you were supposed to turn that hem going up towards the bodice, and the reason is so that when you fold it over, it just lays nice and flat right across there. All right, and I'll zoom in so you can see that. Alright, so that's how it's going to lay. That's what you want it to look like when you finish. And you're just going to do a slip stitch going all the way down that lining. And what I normally do is pin all of my parts together, like all of my seams together. I pin it at the end where I want it to fall. I also go to my second seam and pin it there, and then I'll just work my way all the way around the dress and pin it first so that the lining is in place, because a lot of times if you don't pay attention, this lining when you're doing a slip stitch has a tendency to kind of bunch, and then you get to the end of your you know, the end of your garment that you're stitching and it's way over here because it's bunched up so much. So that'll help control the bunching. That'll help you be aware of how much more fabric you have. Just go ahead and line up all of your seams and pin them, and then stick your pin in between just to hold, and then go to the next seam and line that up and pin it all the way around so that you don't have any trouble when you get ready to slip stitch. Alright guys, how are you looking? Because I have finished the sewing in the lining on mine, and I hope yours looks nice and neat. I sewed it all the way around, and what I forgot to kind of tell you is that you do have to sew it to the zipper edge, going down and then around. Make sure you cut off all of your little, as a lady used to call them, Irish pennies. That's what the Marines calls them. Cut off all your threads. Make sure you cut off all your threads before you wear this puppy out. But I have went ahead and stitched everything down, going all the way across and all the way around, and now we are ready to add our hook and eye. And like I said, this little part that remember I told you to go 3/8 inches down so that you can put in your hook and eye, and that is just going to be used to close it up. Alright, and these are what you're going to be using, these hook and eyes. Alright, and I prefer, I think they tell you on this one, yeah, to use one hook and then the rounded eye. Alright, so you should have these two little things right here. Alright, that's what you're going to use, is that hook and eye. Alright, and then it's fairly simple. You just do it on the outside. I mean on the inside, of course, not the outside. Just flip it on the outside. Alright, so what you're going to do once you get your hook is put your hook on one side, facing up, and make sure you lined it up even with the other. Now, I normally, of course, sew on the one first, and then the hook or the eye, whichever one you prefer. And then I use that to measure where I need my hook to go, or where I need my eye to go. Alright, so, and you want to make sure that you hang it off just a little bit so that that can hook in and catch that hook. And when I get mine sewn on, I will show you how that's done. Alright guys, I got my hook and eye in, as you can see, and like I said, it should be just as simple as making sure one end is hanging off a little bit. Alright, that's your rounded end, and then your hook end, you want to make sure that you have that kind of snug with the end of the fabric. Alright, and then that way when you take them and you put them together and you zip up your garments, it's closed off. Alright, so what we only thing that we have left to do is our hem, which is awesome. Are you excited? Because I'm excited. Alright, so now I did mine a little bit different. I wanted my skirt a little shorter. Alright, so I cut my fabric to match my lining. Alright, and then I'm just going to roll it under twice and do a rolled hem. Alright, if you actually did it the way that they told you to, then your fabric piece is going to be slightly longer than your lining piece. If that's the case, then yours should look similar to that. Alright, and then all you're going to do, like they told you in the instructions, is pull it up, but you don't want, when you're sewing, to catch your lining. Alright, so your line is not going to go all the way to the bottom anyway because you cut it longer. You're going to fold it up 1 1/4 of an inch like they said, and then do your basting stitch along the perimeter of where you folded at. Okay, once you fold it, they tell you to go ahead and finish your hem. You can go ahead and finish the hem on that if you would like to. Alright, and then they say go ahead and make another 5/8 inch, and that will catch your lining. All right, but the way that I'm doing it, because I cut my fabric to match, is mine are both the same length. So I'm just going to make sure that everything is lined out. Make sure everything is straight up underneath. So I'm just going to straighten out my dress. And again, this is just if you want to make it just a tad bit shorter, and that's what I want. I don't want it too short. I don't want it sleazy. I want it sexy or flirty. Alright, so mine is even, and what I'm going to do is make sure that both of my pieces line up, because they should. And then I'm actually going to do a rolled hem. Alright, I'm going to fold it over. Alright, I have mine straight and lined up, and what I'm going to do is fold mine over for about 1/2 inch, and then another 5/8 inch to make my hem. Alright, and then I'm just going to do a stitch going all the way across. And what I suggest, if you do that method, because this is a skirt and it's circular, is to go ahead and pin everything before you start, so that you can ease in all your fullness. Alright, if you do it the way they told you, you ease in your fullness when you get ready to sew your actual lining in the second time. Alright, because the first time you're going to go ahead and fold it under, like I said, with them 1 1/4. Alright, and then you're going to have a pretty big fold, and then you're going to go back and do, and you're going to trim it down, and then you're going to go back and do your 5/8 inch hem. Alright, and then that you can ease in your fullness there. But for me, I'm folding it under, doing a rolled hem, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it before I do it, line up all my seams and fold it, and then I'm going to go ahead and stitch my rolled hem. And then guess what, guys? We're done, we're done, we're done. And right after this video, I'm going to show you how mine look. Alright, so you can see it. If you'd like to see more pictures, you can go to my Instagram page, or you can go to my Facebook page. Please follow me on Facebook, and if you make your own version of this dress, don't forget to tag me at MCC DIY on Instagram. Talk to you soon.